joining us right now on Zoom is an icon in North American sports and, of course, the United States Senate and so much more. Rolling Along, an American Story is available for streaming right now on Max, which is available on Roku, the autobiographical film that is written and performed by the great Bill Bradley. Look who's joining us now live on the Rich Eisen Show. Bill Bradley, how are you, sir?
Great, Rich. Great to be with you.
Good to be with you as well. We just showed our old Sports Center commercial back in the day.
Yeah, well, the one with Keith, I think actually won an Emmy or something. I forgot.
That was the one where you were in a job interview?
Interview, yeah. And his line was at the end, "No, I mean a really difficult job."
Yeah, right. As if, 18 years in the Senate is nothing. So why this story? I know it was something you've been working on for 6 years, developing and performing and writing it as an onstage one-man play. But walk me through your decision to do this film.
Well, I wanted to tell my story in hopes that in telling my story with great candor, that it would encourage other people to tell their stories, and that all of our stories is the American story. And it emphasizes our common humanity. What I've done is much more a human story than a hero story. And it's a performative autobiography. I did it in the end of 21. We filmed it, and now it's a film on Max. And I feel that I said what I wanted to say, and I hope that in the process of doing that, it encourages other people to tell their stories.
Well, I guess writ large, what is it that you want to say? Obviously, it's a very crucial part of all of our existences right now.
Well, I think the most critical, the most important line in the film is where I say, we're in such a divided country today that maybe we could learn something from what made the Knicks team successful so many years ago. Take responsibility for yourself, respect your fellow human being, disagree with them openly, honestly, civilly, enjoy their humanity, and never look down on people you don't understand.
Well, let's take that.
That in a core is the essence of the film.
So let's take that one at a time here, because the civil discourse has essentially disappeared, and many of the reasons why, I think, to be honest with you, is this phone that I have in my hand right here, is that people can fire back at your opinions, and your opinions aren't completely thrown out there because there's a certain amount of characters in which you can say it. And then somebody who doesn't have to say something to your face or put their face up on the screen when they say it to you fires back, and then you kind of feel like the world is closing in on you on that conversation. I'm wondering if, and then of course it's the demonizing of the others, where you ascribe demonic intentions to somebody who is just trying to have a thoughtful conversation. I'm wondering, did you see the development of that in your 18 years in the Senate, Bill? Did you sense any of that?
Well, when I left the Senate, I left in part because I thought there was way too much money in politics and that the extremes began to take over. This is much more today, and it's exacerbated by social media. But my grandmother's thought is still relevant. Never look down on people you don't understand. I mean, the real reality is that when we were growing up, our parents or our coach would tell us, if you lose, congratulate the winner. That's just what it is. And you act out of honor, not out of grievance. And you know that if you work hard and have humility, that you can achieve excellence. And that's how you take care of your family. And if enough Americans did that, then the whole country would advance. These are givens. People know that. As long as politics is at a level of R&D or blue and red, you ignore the common humanity that everybody has. And to me, the whole thrust of my effort in the film is to focus on our common humanity as human beings, as Americans, and not on whether we were Republicans or Democrats. Now, will that help? I hope. I hope that it'll lead to some healing along the way, but we'll see.
Rolling Along, an American Story, available for streaming now on Max, written and performed by the man on whose life it is based, and it is Bill Bradley here on The Rich Eisen Show. It's available on Max, available right here on Roku. So I imagine the first time you represented the United States in anything was the 1964 Olympic Games, right, in Japan. I was just going down the memory hole, Bill. Larry Brown was a teammate of yours on that 1964 gold medal
Larry
team?
Brown played for Goodyear Tire and Rubber. He and Pete McCaffrey, and that's when AAU teams had representatives on the Olympic team. Yeah, we when we were there, I thought we'd end up playing the Soviet Union in the final, and I made in the Olympic Village. You ate not with your country, but just ate as human beings, and I got to know a Russian who was a guard, and that's when I was an evangelical Christian. And so I went into Tokyo and bought a Bible in Russian and gave it to him. He didn't quite know what it was about. What was it? Why did you do this? But that's what I did in those days. And the Olympics was a great experience, standing on the platform, gold medal around your neck and hearing the national anthem played, chills going up and down your spine. It was a unique experience. It wasn't the greatest basketball in the world, but it was a great experience, and I'm glad I had it. And Larry Bird was on that team, no question. Not Larry Bird, Larry Brown was on that team.
Right, back in that day. And then when did you first meet Red Holtzman and realize that the Knicks were something special?
Well, I think I met Red when I was thinking of becoming a Knick. I went to college. Instead of going into the pros, I went to Oxford for 2 years. And then I decided one day I was out shooting baskets alone in the first gym Oxford had in 700 years. And I decided, I really love the game. And so I wanted to come back and play. And so when I came back to deal with the Knicks, that's when I met Red. He was a scout at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my first year, there was a change made. He came as coach. He was a great coach. He had only 3 rules: hit the open man on offense, help out on defense, and the hotel bar belongs to me.
Did you follow those rules?
I certainly did. All 3 of them.
What's your favorite Clyde story, your favorite Walt Frazier story that might either sum up your relationship with him or just his greatness and personality altogether?
Yeah. Well, I was introducing him at some event. I forget where it was. And it wasn't a big event, but, there were people there. And so I said, there's no question that the greatest 7th game in the NBA Finals ever played was played by Walt Frazier. He had 36 points and 19 assists. And then he interjects, and 13 rebounds.
That's right. Yeah, that's a nice triple-double.
Then he also had 4 or 5 steals. So Clyde is just a wonderful human being. He was a health food person before it was popular. He was eating seeds when everybody else was eating hot dogs. And he always took care of himself, always slept. And I think I'm so glad that he's in 2 Hall of Fames, right? He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame and the Broadcasters Hall of Fame. He deserves it. He's worked hard for it. And he's a good man.
He sure is. Did Phil Jackson evince the greatness of a future coach when you were playing with him?
I never thought of Phil as a coach when I played with him. But as I look back, he looked at the game analytically. He was totally unselfish. He was somebody who was very disciplined. And all those things went into becoming a great and perhaps the greatest coach in the NBA history.
Bill Bradley here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk a little bit about the here and now, if you don't mind. Jalen Brunson, what do you think of when you watch him play and just hear his name right now? Bill?
I like the way he plays. He is learning to make the worst player on the team better. He's making each of his teammates maximize their abilities. And the more he does that, and the more he has a team that hustles and has a commitment of unselfishness, the better he's going to be. I mean, the name of the game is the maximum player movement and ball movement that rewards unselfishness. And as long as the Knicks do those things, move the ball and play unselfishly, and he is the guy, the point guy that starts that, they're going to do well.
He also seems to have raised the level of his game, though, considerably. I mean, he is just ascending isn't even the proper word for him.
Yes, he's at a critical path. He can take the path of his considerable individual skills, average a lot of points, or he can be a champion. And I think he'll score less points, but his teammates will be better, and then they have a chance of being a great team. And I like him because he seems to be the leader on the team too, which is really good for one of the best players.
Well, and if you've been in that building for decades, it's rare to see a player do what he's doing and plug into the fans and have that building plug into him. There's an it factor that is so rare to be seen in Madison Square Garden right now with him.
I think that's true, but I think we have to be careful about the it factor being only to Jalen. I think Jalen would be the first one to say, and Thibodeau, it's to the team, the way the team plays. Because one player is not going to win the championship. And I think that the fans sense there's something going on there. When you win 13-2 in January, that's great. That's great. That's certainly as good as we ever did, except when we went 19 in a row. But I think that they have to do that in February and in March, and then we'll see where they go from there. But the potential is enormous.
So in your multiple All-Star games that you played in, how competitive were those All-Star games, Bill?
I was only in one. So
okay. I thought you played in multiples. Okay. So
I only played in one.
Only one. Okay.
But the All-Star games were competitive. It was always seen as a different kind of game. If you you wanted to win for your team, but it wasn't like winning for your team, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. It was a group of guys who had a certain pride, and their pride now was they were against other really great players, and they wanted to win. So people wanted to win. It wasn't some exhibition of shooting. It was they want to win. So they played defense, they passed the ball, and they scored. And the most valuable player usually deserved it. And, but it wasn't. It was always seen as a break between what was really important, which was your season.
So in the few minutes I have left with you, who's the best player that you played against?
The best player I played against was John Havlicek. He was the man I guarded. There were other great players, obviously Kareem, but or Wilt or Jerry West, but I didn't guard them. And so it was John Havlicek because he always moved without the ball. The Celtics got him the ball at just the right time, and he never stopped. And so he was the most difficult player for me to guard.
So then who was the best player not on your team that you stepped on the floor with? How about that one? You just named
not
some
in
others.
My team?
Yeah,
that's a good question. I never played with Michael Jordan. He would be my first pick.
He would.
But the best player would be probably either Oscar or Jerry West.
Yeah.
One of the two.
I think I saw Oscar at the All-Star game in Indianapolis just the other day, as a matter of fact.
That's real old school.
No doubt. Why would you choose Jordan number one? Obviously, you know LeBron, and there's a whole conversation that involves the two of them. But
I don't get into these comparisons against over eras, because it used to be when the Bulls were good, they would say, "How would your Knicks do against the Bulls?" Right?
Yeah.
And I said, "I don't know. Let's just go down the matchups. Okay, Frazier versus B.J. Armstrong, Frazier." I go right down the list and I say, "Now it's Bradley versus Pippen." and Bradley saying, "Help!"
But the Knicks would have the advantage of taking the Bulls coach off their team and throwing it on the bench, right?
Yeah, right.
Let's see how the assistants do, because Phil's suiting up with you, I'd imagine. Like that would have happened back in that day. But what did you like about Jordan when you saw him play, Bill?
His absolute competitiveness and his ability to make the worst player on his team good, and his dedication to the team. I've never seen a competitor that was as intense as he was at the right moments. And I'm not a player. I'm a fan watching.
Yes.
So that was my conclusion.
Bill Bradley here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, so before I send you onto your Tuesday, you mentioned the message that you'd want Rolling Along, an American Story, to give. What message would you give to all of us at this juncture of our lives in this election year, Bill Bradley? What message would you like to tell everybody? Get off your chest. Use maybe this platform to communicate to folks.
I would say don't tune out. Reach out. If you're a citizen, it's hard work. And the part of the work is voting. Part of the work is getting other people to vote. Part of the work is paying attention. And we get what we ultimately select. And so I would say to the people, your role in the democracy is about to go into high gear, perform it conscientiously well, and make your judgment based on knowledge and your own set of values.
But go out and definitely use your vote, clearly.
Go out and you not only use your vote, but get involved and work for other people, other candidates.
Bill, I really appreciate the time here, and congrats on your film, Rolling Along, an American Story. You could see it on Max through this Roku portal. And I don't care. I always will say these things to people who I admire and grow up admiring. You are an icon in my world, sir, and this is an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you, Rich. I really appreciate it. And let me know what you think of the film.
Absolutely, sir. I cannot wait for everybody to check it out right here on the Roku portal. Bill Bradley, Rolling Along, an American Story, is available for streaming right now on Max, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Thank you for joining.
I'm happy to join you, and it might surprise you.
Okay, I look forward to it. Very good. Bill Bradley right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.